Ladies and gents, welcome to the 12 Talk podcast. I'm not going to lie, my bum has been squeaking whilst preparing for this because we've been trying to get the presentation sorted, and Sunday's a family day in my house. So I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you for everyone that's interacted with us over social media. As we said before, you can find us pretty much everywhere. You can find us on X, on Instagram, YouTube. You can find us on all the decent podcasting apps and websites. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really helps for us to get out there. And also, if you want to join us on a pod, let us know. Hit us up on socials. You can send us an email if you don't want it to be, all out there. We'd be more than happy to chat to you. Also, if you like what we do and you want to treat us, you can by all means buy us a coffee. Buy me a coffee. It's down there. We're going to put it in the link as well. But apart from that, Mitch, we have got we've got an awesome episode coming up today, which we're just going to call Moneyball, and I'm just going to leave that dangling there whilst we hit the theme tune. Should we do it?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And it was pointed out by Mitch when we first came on sort of the pre-show that we're both wearing the same top. So yeah, I think by rules of sort of social clueless interaction, one of us has to leave. So
I can take my shirt off. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind.
I think this is one of those episodes where we get a lot more people listening than watching if we both did it as well.
Hey, and the thing is, there's a shirt back there I could put on as well, but I don't.
Yeah, no, let's get rid of that one.
So.
Nah. I'd rather see you shirtless than wearing that one, if I'm completely honest, mate. Right, so we've called this one Moneyball. Mitch and I have been talking about this ad nauseum privately, and we've also put it in our Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, it's our pinned post on our Twitter X thing, which I still think when you put them both together sounds really seedy. But yeah, by all means, join us. It's a growing community and some fantastic input we've got from people as well. And if you're watching live and you've got a comment, put it in there. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, X, and you want to say something, or you want us to say something about what you're saying, let us know. We'll share it and we'll see what other people say as well. So this episode's called Moneyball because this is something that Mitch coined when we started making our free agent signings. He just sent me a message and then afterwards in capitals just wrote Moneyball. And I thought, it's pretty right, Explain what you mean by that, Mitch. Come on.
Well, for anyone that's watched Moneyball, it's obviously
great film.
It's a baseball film, and it's about basically baseball teams manipulating the roster and taking very specialist roles rather than star players on big money to fill very specific needs on their roster to keep them competitive and win games. We're obviously in a situation where we need to eat a bit of dead cap this year. We've got new coaching staff on, technically three sides of the ball, with special teams, defense, offense, and the personnel on the roster weren't necessarily perfect scheme fits for what we were doing. And we've addressed areas of need on the roster with very specific skill sets on those players. We haven't necessarily gone for the top tier players that were available with the cap space we had. But what we have done is we've got versatility now across the board in all defensive positions. We've bolstered what we lost in on the offensive side of the ball with tight ends. It also looks like we've put certain starting players in positions to get more starting snaps backed up by players who are very similar as well. So if a player is unavailable, we've got a similar mold player to to take over, which was really key to Mike Mack last year when his defensive backs had to come in, players like Ronald Darby had to come in and do the same role and were able to really excel in his system because they were a similar backup player, not necessarily a high salary player, but a similar player to come into the system. That feels to me like what we've done. We've covered very specific needs with small amounts of money to rebuild and not commit to any of the older players for too long, so that drafted players have veterans in their way. It feels like there's a succession plan with the first 2 years of drafting, for those players to be able to break in. So that's what I mean by Moneyball. It's nothing extravagant, but everything with purpose.
I like it. I put a thing up saying it's John Schneider playing chess whilst the rest of the league's playing checkers, because I for anyone who doesn't know, I love Seahawks toxic Twitter. I revel in it. It's one of those things. As soon as I see people, and I did put a bit of a negative post up, I do apologize for anyone that follows me, but we'll get onto that after. I just love the fact that as soon as we miss out on day one, it all hell breaks loose. It's like, burn it down. Oh my, we're going to lose everything. And then we start making these signings, and people that actually do their research have got friends that do a lot of the research as well and are really clued in. They realize that we're picking up these players on contracts that are easier to swallow, that can then fill in the roles that we're going to need for this new defense. I mean, if we are going to take a look at free agency, we might as well. People have obviously looked at it, but we've done our own little bit. So anyone watching, this will be up on the screen. Anyone listening, we'll read it out to you as well. So we're going to start with the free agents that we've lost. So we start with Delu. He has signed for the Panthers on a 4-year deal worth $53 million. And this is what John Schneider was saying about guards and interior O-line seem to be getting paid ridiculous amounts. That's an average 13.25 million a year. Now, I like Delu. I liked him better when he was at right tackle. They were moving to left, and I think he was very up and down. I wouldn't pay him that much.
It looks like a team that are desperate to protect a big investment on a young quarterback that wasn't able to showcase himself last year, doesn't it? But it does feel like a reach to me. This is a player who is, hasn't been able to match the first 2 years of his rookie deal. I know we moved him from right guard to left guard, but he really wasn't able to match his performance first 2 years. So a descending talent in terms of output year 1 and 2 gets a deal like that in free agency. It blows my mind. With that on the table, he was never returning. And personally, I look back on his first 2 years fondly, but I do think that's not going to be difficult to replicate on our roster without paying anything like that. So I'm happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we then go on to Jordan Brooks. This was a big, is he going to stay? Is he not going to stay? People weren't sure. He's gone to the Dolphins, who, even though they seem to be in some sort of cap hell, managed to still right the ship and bring up 3-year contracts worth 26.25 mil with an average of sort of 8.75 a year. I mean, I think there was a lot of back and forth over toxic Twitter where people were going, why couldn't we pay this for him? It doesn't seem that much. And I understand it. I've never been a massive Brooks believer. Like some, I think he was good, but I expected more from a first-round pick. Do you not think?
Yeah. The thing to remember about cap situations for these teams is you actually don't have to be out of a cap deficit until I think it's first week of camp. So you've got months. It's something like 10 weeks. 10 weeks. It's more than that. It's a long time. People don't have to get their cap in check for a long time. So there will be contract renewals and extensions for those key players they've got that have really high cap numbers. Add a couple years onto Hill. Tua's due an extension, I believe, as well. So those situations are going to rewrite themselves for them. So I can see that would be fine. And it doesn't mean that his first year is 8.7. Could be like a 4 or 5 million first year.
It's just the averages.
So,
it was a lot of maths
yeah,
otherwise.
in terms of what affects us, I don't think he was a perfect fit at all for what our middle linebackers need to be. And any contract we offer to Jordan Brooks, he'd want it to be a multi-year deal. And looking at what we've done with we'll come on to it, but the linebackers we have signed, they both got 1-year deals. So I don't think we were looking to commit to any linebacker for a long period of time unless they were a perfect fit. And we saw that with Patrick Queen. Even Patrick Queen didn't get an offer from us that was acceptable, and that's probably to do with the level of commitment that players wanted on those contracts.
Possibly my favourite reactions of toxic Twitter, that was everyone was clamoring for Patrick Queen. There needs to be a reunion, and then we didn't get him, and everything just went nuclear. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have seen him back in a Mike Mack defense, but the money he was commanding, I just don't think it would have been worth it. We then come on to our 2 tight ends. I'll package them both together. Colby Parkinson went to the Rams, and as much as we should hate this with it being a division rival, he's from LA. He went to school there. 3-year. This surprised me though. 3-year, 22.5 mil, average of 7.5 mil a year. Like, that's fair play. I mean, he's going to be a red zone threat if he's used right. And then Disley went to the Chargers, another 3-year, 14 mil, which averages at 4.66 mil a year, which is near half of what he got with us per year. I'm going to miss the rock, paper, scissors beforehand, but you can't have that type of money floating around for those two. We'll go on to the tight end we did re-sign in a minute, but
yeah, I mean, Kobe Parkinson, like you say, going back to LA, similar with DJ Dallas going back to Arizona. It's nice that we didn't renew them. They found a hometown situation. They both got paid. Well, in fact, all 3 of them got paid. I think Dallas's deal's good for what he's put up in the league so far. I'm happy for all of them. The only thing I'm not happy about is the fact that we're going to have to see Kobe Parkinson twice a year for the foreseeable future against us. And regarding the money he got, remember that the 2 passes, well, the first pass he dropped this year was his first drop in all of the NFL and college. He'd never dropped a ball in college, and then he dropped 2 this year. One of them was not really his fault, but it goes against his stat line. So, and looking at how much we underutilized tight ends, the ceiling for how good he could be in the league targeted more with that, with those hands and that frame. I think it's a great move for LA. It's just that money's a bit high.
It's really high. That's what sort of thinking. So, as one of our regular viewers puts in there, UK 12 man. Hello again. I think it's interesting. Our 3rd choice tight end got paid almost as much as our starting linebacker with our defense has done for the last few years. I just think it's Parkinson. I'm going to hate seeing him in a McVay offense because I think McVay will actually use him properly. He's going to be a massive red zone threat for them. But fair play to him. I love Colby Parkinson. I think he's a fantastic guy as well. Will Disley as well, Uncle Will. We all loved him, but at that cap hit, I think it was one of those you just had to pull the trigger and tell him to go. Next, we go on to the legend. The jersey I'm wearing. I don't buy jerseys for players unless they've left or retired. B-Wag's gone to the Commanders to reunite with Dan Quinn. A 1-year, $8.5 million contract. That is one final payday, and hurrah for me. In a system that he will probably be able to be effective in.
Yeah, it's always sad seeing Bobby Wagner in another team's jersey, although at least this time it's not a divisional rival. Well, you're not a divisional rival, it's still an NFC team that we may well come up against. But in fact, I can't remember if we play them this year. We might do.
Let's double check.
I'm not sure if we do or not. But I mean, Bobby Wagner, as good as he is at what he does, his numbers for tackles made are inflated massively by our inability to stop running backs at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And this year, stopping the run with a 4-3 front is going to mean that there's less running backs coming, you'd hope, coming through the A and B gaps, meaning that we don't need our middle linebackers to excel in run stopping. We need them to be versatile and quick sideline to sideline. And those characteristics are not his strong points. Well, they weren't his strong points ever, but even less now. So it makes total sense that this is where we, sadly say goodbye to him again. So yeah, that made a lot of sense to me. Taking my heart out of it and using my head on that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll see him when he gets inducted into the Ring of Honor anyway, and his jersey number gets retired.
Absolutely.
So next up, we had Drew Lock. Went to the Giants, 1 year, $5 million. Prove it. He went, from what I read, he went on the premise that he was going to be able to challenge for the starting job, but has since been told that Daniel Jones is the starter. But also, isn't Tommy DeVito still on that roster? And DeVito showed out last year. Fair play,
I don't know how much of Drew Lock's contract was guaranteed and how much was tied into a signing bonus, but I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a huge amount of guarantees in there and he was a potential cut as well. And it's sad because we'd have loved to have seen him behind Geno again. But actually, in reality, that's probably saved us a bit of money with the way it worked out. So sad for him. False promises, I think, there.
I think so as well. But then he goes to New York, so fair play to him. DJ Dallas going to the Cardinals. I just have this thing now where I think that when people get cut by us, out of spite, sometimes they go to divisional rival. We've seen it loads. Dallas is going to go and back up Connor for a 3-year, $8.25 million contract, averaging at $2.75 million per year. DJ Dallas was a character. People liked him, but completely ineffective in the run game. He had a couple of good games, but they can keep him. Yeah. We'll miss him as a character, but that's about it. So they were our outgoing. I'll put the ones that are still out there. There's rumors about Quandre Diggs possibly going to the Colts. I don't know if that was confirmed. It wasn't at time of writing. Jamal Adams is still out there, and probably will be for quite a while until someone goes, we're desperate, and we definitely need to know if he's not crooked. Brian Monet still out there, still injured though, I think. Phil Haynes, again, still out there. Nick Ballore, still out there. Evan Brown, I think he'll get picked up at some point for his ability to play centre and guard at a decent level. And Mario Edwards, still out there as well, which I enjoyed seeing Mario Edwards last year. I thought we came in and made an impact on a rotation, but I think age is not on his side with this one. So yeah, they're the ones that are still there. Now, let's talk about the ones we've re-signed. Big Cat. He's come back. He was our priority, and I'm so glad about this. 3 years, $64 million, $10.4 million a year cap hit. Fine. I know there were people that said different things about this, but I think he is the closest we're going to get to an elite defensive lineman in this free agency. That was attainable. And obviously John Schneider had been after him for 2 years before we managed to sign him. I think he had a transformative effect on our D-line. As soon as he came in, he was so effective, and people were having to look for him, which then freed up people like Reed or Edwards or whoever else on the line with him. So I'm really happy with this one personally.
Yeah, it's a leader, isn't it, as well? And it's a leader in the defense at a time where we've lost quite a few all in one wave. And he also has that defensive line versatility that's going to be really key. Sometimes it's going to be shown as a 4 and it's a 3. Sometimes it's going to show as a 3 and it's a 4. So at that point, you need a guy that can play DT and DE, so you can sell that, that window dressing that's being put out there. So that's superb for us. The fact that he signed on a cap friendly 10.4 hit for this year, or the way they've worked it. Is great. And obviously down the line, it doesn't take a mass genius to work out that we're paying through the nose in 25 and 26. But for now, when we've got dead money on the roster, that works great. I think that's a brilliant move.
I think it showed his commitment that he was in Japan on holiday with his girlfriend, flew back. I mean, when you're a multi-millionaire, I don't think it really matters because you're going to fly business class anyway. But he flew back from Japan to sign his contract, and he's now, I think, gone back out there according to Instagram. So fair play, he is making the most of this. I can't take it away from him. I think great character, great leader. He's going to be great on this D line. You've then got Noah Fant, who was massively underutilized. His athleticism, his ability to stretch a field as well as an athletic tight end. I think this now, as I put there, so it's 2 years, 21 mil. He was PFF's, and I'd like to thank Mitch for a lot of the stats on this. PFF's number 5 graded tight end overall in 2023, and now the clear TE1 in Seattle. And I can't wait to see what Grubb does with him.
Yeah, I think West Coast spread offense is going to really suit him as well because of that yard after catch ability he's got. I think there's going to be lots of opportunity to put the ball in a tight window to him and allow him to churn out yards after with the way that our weapons are going to be spread. It's against some defensive schemes. He's going to find a lot of room to play in, and you don't end up at a tight end 5 overall with PFF without also having the other areas of your game to an above average standard. Mm-hmm. So that ties into helping Pharaoh Brown a little bit because he will still get some targets, even though he's more likely to be the inline tight end on a lot of plays. I think that Noah Fant will be able to help facilitate him getting some big plays too. So big re-signing there for me.
And then the other re-signings that we made, sort of, I put these in, I didn't sort of go big on these because these are sort of your non-starters or the rotation pieces. Mike Jack, he's come back on a 1 year, 3.1 million contract. Starting quality at backup money, 20th ranked cornerback in coverage in 2023. Fantastic. He was able to come in last year when people like Woolen weren't performing, and I think he did admirably. I really like that one. You then got Rattigan, who's coming in 1 year, 2.9 million. And as Mitch has put there, new special teams captain.
I could see it personally. I think there's a vacancy there for someone to really step up that doesn't play a starring role on offense or defense, to really make that their own and get their flowers and go to the Pro Bowl just like Balor's been doing year on year. Rattigan's been there making big plays for us for a long time, and it's a new coach there too. So if he proves himself to be durable and willing and enthusiastic and starts making plays, he could be really impactful for us this year for sure.
That's it. And then you've got Artie Burns, who's come back, and I know this was something that I think even I was a bit skeptical to start with, but I think 1 year, 2 million, starting quality at backup money again, versatile positional upside again. He can play on the outside, he can play in the nickel. I think he could even slot in some of these safety packages as well. For a savvy vet, I'll take that one.
Also, at a time when Rayshawn Jenkins has joined our roster, he is good friends with Artie Burns. So you've got someone there to help him settle in. Someone in that secondary that knows his game. So I think there's some familiarity and things there on and off the field that's going to help both of them. So I like that one.
Then got Miles Adams, who's come back on a 1 year, only 870,000. But again, good value, good depth, and we're constantly waiting for him to break out because every off-season, every camp, people were waxing lyrical about him. And I rate him as a backup sort of rotational piece. I'm just waiting for him to actually explode and do what people keep saying he can do.
Agree.
And then the last two, D. Eskridge stays on, and this is a bone of contention. Signed a $1.4 million contract for a year, and I just put my note in there to say took what he could to stay on the team because otherwise he was getting cut.
Yeah, but there was a comment the other day from, I think it was Ryan Grubb about him, saying that they were really intrigued about what they could draw up for D. Eskridge in this scheme, and similar to what I said about Fant, hitting D. Eskridge in space with his explosive, twitchy speed, he honestly could really have a huge impact. And there's also the fact that we've lost DJ Dallas as our return guy as well. So there's also a high chance we see D. Eskridge, if he can stay fit, because I think that's a key thing with him, then he could have actually quite a big impactful year. Regarding his contract, there's still only 400,000 dead cap if he's cut and doesn't make the 53, which was exactly the case before we re-signed him. So if he doesn't make the 53, we have the exact same dead money we would have had if we let him go. So we haven't committed at all to de-Eskridge. We've given him a training camp to impress the new coaches, which I think it's a smart move.
Yeah. And then last and by no means least, I'll say with an eye roll, Darrell Taylor. I put him as D-end / offensive linebacker because that's what he was asked to do last year. 1 year, $3 million extension. He's just prove it in the rotation. He's one of those players that such high hopes for, and the peaks and troughs of this man's game are so. There's such a distance between the two. He's either electric and you cannot guard him, or he is a non-entity. He can't go out and run defense. He's literally there as a speed rusher. And if people are accommodating him, then he's again a non-entity. So prove it deal there for the rotation for me. See what he can bring up.
It's the worst, in my opinion, it's the worst possible defensive scheme for Darrell Taylor to play in. Because when you think about everything that Mike Mack needs, he needs players that can look like they're doing one thing and then do something else post snap. Darrell Taylor, for his entire rookie contract, was I'm out here as a pass rush specialist, and as soon as the ball snapped, he is rushing the passer, regardless of whether the ball's been handed off to a running back. He's still pursuing the passer. So put him in
proven by that hit on, was it Wentz that he hit?
Yeah, an hour after the ball had been, released from hand.
Wentz or Goff, it might have been. They both become the same QB in my mind. But yeah, fair play. It was a lovely handoff. It might have been Goff against the Lions. It was a beautiful handoff to the point where Darrell Taylor didn't realize it'd been handed off. But that's all he's in there for. You, unless the coaching becomes that good that we can actually iron out the massive creases in his game to say, look, you need to be able to do this as well, and he does it. I just see him being there purely as sort of an injury backup.
Agree.
All right. And then we've got the new signings. Now, Mitch and I have spoken at length about these, and he's got me very excited about them. So I'll hand it over to Mitch for these, and I will just pass any comments afterwards. So, Mitch, go for it, dude.
Okay. Well, this is a cool one for me. I was a big fan of Rayshon Jenkins. Last 2 years had his best 2 years statistically in coverage. As you can see on screen, 21 PDs and 5 interceptions in 2 years. He was seen as a spot that could be exploited on the Jaguars roster. People tried him over and over again, much like Woolen's first year in the league for us. People tried him out and they found out very quickly that was not a guy to test, and that is showing up big time on his stat line. But he's also a guy that can play in the box, and he's a very good blitzer. He's got sacks. All you look through every year in the league, he's had sacks. He's a very short tackler too, so I see this as a guy that they can show as a safety pre-snap, and then he's blitzing, or they can show him in the box and then drop him deep, because John's already said we're going to do a lot of too high safety and split safety looks. He excels at both of those things. So we've removed 2 expensive safeties with obvious restrictions to their game and replaced them with cheaper, more versatile players that you can look at pre-snap and go, I don't know if that's a blitzer or whether that's a deep safety. Or whether it will be a deep safety post snap. So superb fit for what we're doing. I love that he got 2 years, because a lot of these signings look like they're gap fillers. I actually think we can extend him after that as well, health permitting, and he can be there for a while. So that's my take on Rayshon Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. Like you said, with the 2 high split safeties, it means that we've got rid of the traditional free safety, strong safety. And now we've just got 2 safeties that you don't know whereabouts are going to be on the field, with him and Love. And I really like this. I think that's a fantastic move. All right. Next up, the first of our... Can we also just address that the Seahawks Twitter was ablaze by the fact that our linebacker room looked so sparse, and then we came and made the moves we made in free agency, and have filled it with some young, exciting talent that can do everything. But Mitch, I'll let you explain.
Well, Dodson's an interesting one because he got not half a season. He got 13 games coming in for, is it Matt Milano, who got injured last year, and he suddenly got thrown into a starting berth and truly excelled. I mean, he ended up, for his 13 games, ended up as the league's #1 ranked linebacker, and that was because of sure tackling when needed, great coverage when needed. He got 2.5 sacks as well on screen. I was going to say 3.5, but it was 2.5. He did absolutely everything he could. And you look at the 74 tackles for a year doesn't look like an eye-popping number. But when you consider that he only played 13 out of 17 games, the four games at an average of 8 added onto that, you're looking at a guy who's got over 100 tackles whilst excelling in coverage. That is nailed on exactly what we need our linebackers to be doing this year. And I think because he only had the 1 year as a starting player in the league, committing to him beyond the year would have been a little bit dangerous for what we're doing. I really do think this is a prove it deal, and he can stay in Seattle if he nails this down. I think this could be one that we see, and he's still quite young as well.
Yeah, 25 is he? I need to double check that, but I like this one.
Right. Yeah,
I like this one. I think it's one of those where we've gone from having no linebackers and people really voicing their concern to signing a young, exciting linebacker who's effective. And the fact that twice now, and anyone who's listened to me and Mitch on the pod before will know that sure tackling, as soon as you mention that, it gets me going. That's all I want from a defensive unit. I just want sure tackling. I want people that can actually stop people in their tracks and stop the play before they start getting all the yak. I'm on board with this one. Absolutely love it. Which leads on to the next one, Jerome Baker. So they take one of ours and we take one of theirs.
Yeah, I like this signing. When it was announced that we'd had him in for an interview or a visit, sorry, and he'd then gone on. I can't remember exactly where he went after us, but he did go to another franchise after us. And usually you look to sign the guy who's visiting. You don't want him to leave. If you've invited him in, you see him as a guy that potentially will sign for an amount of money that fits with your cap and is a schematic fit as well. There's plenty of tape on Baker in the league. People know what he brings. So if you're interviewing him, you think you can get him. When he left, I didn't think this was happening. So really relieved that we've got him. Similar situation. I think he's bigger. I think he's longer. Weirdly, he's I think he's taller, but has shorter arms, which is a bit odd. But
like a T-Rex.
Dodson's got the spaghetti arms, and Baker's more sort of physical and with the build a bit heavier. But yeah, no, I think this is a great tandem. They fit nicely as two versatile players that have slightly differing sort of key attributes. They're both versatile. They both do everything. I think Baker finished something like 18th or 19th rated cover LB. So, and Brooks and Wagner were both around 48 to 50.
Yeah. So
it's a dramatic improvement in that respect, but his skill set's more rounded as a linebacker. He's got years and years of experience as well in the league. So I like this one.
I'm just looking forward to seeing someone in Seattle wearing a cowboy collar. It's been so long since I've seen anyone wearing a cowboy collar, and when people bring it back, I'm just thinking, yes, you protect that neck. Right. Sure. And then we go on to our newest tight end. What a name, by the way. Barrow.
Yeah, so PFF's #1 ranked T8 for the year. The names between him and Fant are Kittle, Kelsey, and insert name of other X Factor tight end.
Andrews.
It might have been Andrews. Definitely, I can't remember. But either way, great company. And the reason he's so high is that he was by far the highest rated run blocking tight end, which some of the more premium, the household name tight ends, they weren't really used in that way. Whereas he was used right across the board in all facets and excelled in the one that others didn't. So his grade there was far higher. But that for us is a good thing, because he's going to be expected to be the inline blocking tight end a lot to facilitate the run game, especially with what Ryan Grubb does. That you'll often see with Ryan Grubb, that the whole offensive line is shifting one way and then the ball gets run the other way, or it gets shifted one way and it turns into a screen. There's lots of movement, and he will be perfect for that because of how good he is in the run game. So he'll be moving with that line, get ahead, block someone at the next level. Superb pickup for us, and that money he's on to be the number one graded tight end, and that is what you're being paid. I think he needs to fire his agent. To be honest,
he needs to sign Colby Parkinson's agent. That's what he needs.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm happy with that. We've padded out that tight end room now with 2 fantastic tight ends. We've got another young tight end as well, and we've obviously got Mabry, who's still on there. Faster than Disley. Well. There you go. Faster Will Disley. Exactly. Just from the viewer called Seattle. Thank you.
From our Discord, I think that's Seattle GG. Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that one. I think in the draft we'll probably end up taking a tight end in the later rounds, just to sort of give us a bit more youth and depth. Maybe someone who's a bit more middle ground, but more than happy with that one. And then the return of the hometown hero. 74 is eligible.
Love it. We're going to hear that a lot, I think, this year, and I'm here for it. Honestly, George Fant, like, you look at the numbers there, but this one intrigues me massively, because we've kind of thrown it out there that perhaps when Abraham Lucas returns from his injury, we don't know whether he's going to be ready from week 1 or whether he's going to miss a few. We don't know. George Fant's a fantastic player to have available, and if both are available, I've got absolutely no issue at all with Lucas playing interior and playing right guard or left guard. To imagine him and Lucas mauling on the right side of that line, I'm here for it. Like, I love that. And he comes with that upside of reporting eligible, and being able to get to the next level, blocking in screens and things as well. I love it. I think it's a great pickup. Fatter Will Disley. Incredible.
Shocking.
It's not wrong.
It's not. I'm happy with this. I mean, we've spoken about Lucas kicking inside to guard, which I think would protect his knee a little bit more, with not having to be as mobile to get around the edge of it. I don't know if he's played guard at a high level. That'd be my only concern. But I really like this. Just bringing back Fan. I loved hearing that 74 was eligible receiver, because everyone went, what? And it keeps people guessing. It's just that nice chess piece, and he swing tackle, can play right and left if needs be, which is fantastic cover. Yeah, I think that's a great pickup.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, and then the hometown college boy comes back. I decided to go with the UW uniform here, as opposed to the past uniform, because no one wants to be seen in that anyway. But yeah, Mitch, go for it. I've put him also as interior O-line. I know he's specifically a center, but I'll let you crack on with this one.
Well, he's had a few snaps elsewhere. I think he's actually got some snaps. Yeah, there you go. It's on the screen. Right guard as well. And there's a few where he's been listed as a tight end, I think, as well. But it's not actually playing tight end. It's because he's been strapped onto the end of the line as an extra lineman. But in terms of reporting, he reports in as a tight end. But this is a really nice piece for us. I think hometown guy, cheap deal, backup, and they didn't want him to leave. He was someone they really wanted to bring back. But I think he saw more opportunity to potentially break through with the amount of needs we have on our interior. I think he looked at the Seattle situation and thought, I feel like I can really make a difference on this O-line, whereas his chances of breaking through and potentially staying as a perennial backup where he was became a deterrent for re-signing. And then, of course, the fact that he got a hometown offer there as well. I think that's exactly why we've got him. They didn't want him to leave, and I could see this one turning into a 2 or 3 year stay at least.
Yeah,
potentially.
I like this one. I think again, you bring back a hometown kid who was, he was good for the Huskies, and I think he's been away, had that experience, realised that he was going to be a perennial backup, so he's decided to test the market, come to us. I'm more than happy with this, and if we can get him as a centre, and if he has to take guard snaps, as long as he is
fine.
Yeah, as long as he is okay, I can deal with that, because let's face it, okay is better than what we've had for the last few years anyway. So, all right, moving on. The trade.
Yeah.
Oh, the trade. Okay, Mitch, hit us with it.
Well, I know you were upset when you saw that Fields went for such a small sort of draft capital outlay, but actually the picks we've traded on trade charts work out around a mid fourth or fifth pick. Mm-hmm. So we've actually traded in terms of draft charts, 1 day 3 pick to pick up a guy who's got 2 years, 2 million hits. So we've got a backup quarterback with NFL experience, already has 28 NFL touchdowns for $1 million a year behind Geno. Like we've got time to turn him into something. Also, Geno at times doesn't necessarily back himself to make some throws. I think he stares down something too long or overlooks something and goes to the next read, whilst if he had just been a bit more of a gunslinger, could have fit that throw into the gap when it was there. Sam Howell has absolutely no reservation at all taking his shots. So he's got something there that Geno doesn't, and Geno has something there that he doesn't in terms of protecting the ball a bit more, taking his time, and making more small, accurate throws rather than shooting bombs. There's a version of Sam Howell that fits between 2023 Sam Howell and 2022 Geno, that I think actually, if you found a level in between the two, could actually be Sam Howell's best version of himself as a quarterback. Somewhere in between there, if we could find that would save us drafting a quarterback in 2 years.
If we can find the Ultra Instinct Sam Howell, then we'll be all right. So a little Dragon Ball Z reference. Anyone, I am a massive nerd. But I want to caveat what I'm going to say here in the fact that having reacted when I first woke up this morning and seen the Justin Fields trade, big thanks to Dan Viennes from Seahawks Forever. He sort of told me as well, and Mitch was very articulate in his argument. I love a bit of Justin Fields. I think his field stretching ability with his legs it can be a game changer, but his accuracy and his hesitance to throw, again, as Mitch has pointed out, I think is his downside. Him being in Pittsburgh behind Russell Wilson, providing he doesn't take on the personality traits of Russ, I think is possibly that wry smile there, Mitch. Well, you know my feelings about him. That could be the best situation for him, because Russ was renowned throughout the league for being able to escape the pocket, use his legs, pick up first downs, find those throws by extending plays, which I think Fields has got in him. We know he's got the arm strength. We know he's got the running capability. I was just hyped about. When Fields is playing, it's you either get one of two things. You get utter disappointment because he doesn't make those throws, or he plays such an exciting brand of football that you don't know what's going to happen. He could run on you for 150 yards and still throw 2 or 3 touchdowns, or he could run for 20 yards, get sacked 4 times, and miss 4 touchdown opportunities. So I think that's where one of my really good friends is a Bears fan, and he is not a Justin Fields fan purely for that. He saw the downside of it, and I completely see it as well. I'm intrigued by what this is going to bring, because like Mitch said, if we can find that perfect version of Howell right in the middle, he could be our quarterback, of the future. I'm still going to be following what Justin Fields does in Pittsburgh, because We don't know what's happening with Russ. Is he going to use this to revitalise his career? Is he still on a downward slope, which then means Fields would then take over with Russ in his ear, coaching him up and teaching him how to be a decent quarterback? And there's also the cap hit for Fields, which I think, Mitch, you said it was about 3 times more than Howell's for Howell's 2-year contract, for 1 year. So I can see the logic. I really can. I was just a bit butthurt this morning when I read it, purely because I really like Fields. I think he's excited. I mean, we've got here as well one of the comments. So thank you very much for everyone commenting via YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on X or off Facebook, Howell had the most pass attempts last season because they didn't have a run game, which is true, and the defense wasn't very good. After they traded both starting pass rushes at the deadline, so they were behind. It's true. He had, I think he had the most passing attempts in the league last year, and it wasn't fair on a quarterback that young to have that much expected of him. So I did feel bad for him at times, because I just thought if you had a defense that could actually, stop what people are doing, and you didn't have to keep playing behind and be that gunslinger, just throwing everything, you wouldn't have 21 interceptions. You'd be able to play a lot calmer, and you'd be able to sort of push the ball forward a little bit more. But
there's another side to that as well. If your opponent knows you're throwing, they know how they're setting up the defense.
Yeah.
If you don't know if it's a run or a throw, you have to kind of hedge your bets and guess a little bit. Sometimes you get gashed because you've set up the wrong way. If you know that there's a gunslinging quarterback, they don't have a run game, you are set up to intercept and pick him off, and the windows that he has to throw into get that much narrower because everyone's expecting it. So he was throwing with a lot of disadvantages, still put up 28 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
that. Like I said, I didn't have that many interceptions, that many throws. I didn't throw that many interceptions in college. It's true. I mean, I scouted him for his draft. I thought he was going to be day 2, day 3. I thought someone would probably see in him something that might make him go, that is a project piece for us, where we can bring him along slowly, and if we can keep his production going, put a decent running back room behind him as well, he could have been much better than he was. As it transpires, he did all right on a pretty shoddy Washington team. Just unfortunately, like Mitch said, they knew he was going to throw all the time, so he was going to get picked. There's no two ways about it. And following that, Mitch has got a little graphic that he wants to discuss with us. So do you want to let's just tell everyone what we're going to do here, what you want to do?
So I just want you to pull up a graphic with the touchdowns and interception ratios of every quarterback that has won a Super Bowl over the last few years. We've got, with the exclusion of Peyton Manning and Nick Foles, because they didn't have complete seasons. So these are the regular season stats, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is, to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you don't have to go interceptionless on a season. I mean, every single one of those, barring 2019 Mahomes and 2016 Brady, has over 10 interceptions in the regular season. So back then, when it was 16 games, you're looking at an interception. What's that? Every 2/3 of a game, right? So point I'm making there with Geno stats at the bottom. Geno hasn't quite hit the same touchdown numbers, but has protected the ball quite a lot with his turnovers. What we really need to find is a quarterback that will take his shots when he sees them, don't hesitate and hold the ball too long. We also need to protect them, clearly, as well. But you need a quarterback that is not thinking about protecting himself from interceptions and is comfortable throwing the ball. If we can get a quarterback up to 35 to 40 touchdowns in a season and 15 interceptions, we'll go deep into the playoffs. Sam Howell is not a guy who is hesitant to throw the ball. So somewhere in between Geno and Howell is a quarterback that can get us deep into the postseason, is the point I'm making with these stats. I've also included there rushing touchdown and rushing yards, because I think the modern day quarterback, everyone seems to want a dual threat quarterback, but show me where they exist on that list of quarterbacks that won a Super Bowl. Just a little extra stat there for you.
I love seeing on there the Brady and Stafford trundle yards, because let's face it, they're not rushes, they're trundles. It's basically a wobble through a gap and a dive, a fall forward. But I think you're completely right. I mean, Howell, where you said he isn't hesitant in trying to make these throws.
He backs his ability, right?
Yeah, and that's what you need, a confident quarterback. You don't want someone who's going to second guess himself. You don't want just a dink and dunk quarterback who's, in inverted commas, a game manager who relies on, this is no slight on the division rival, relies on their star players to make the yards through yak, because that's not a brand of football that's sustainable, in my opinion, because people start to game plan for it. That being said, for Mr. Irrelevant, it seemed to have worked. He got into a Super Bowl. Didn't win it, though. Never mind. But yeah, I mean, with that, I think, Mitch, you raised a fantastic point where I think that there's that middle ground somewhere where we have in that room, we have two quarterbacks that can do a job for us and should do the job, hopefully. I just really want to see it come to fruition, because we've spent so long with the Geno haters, with the Russ addicts, and everyone clambering for everyone else. I just like to see Geno keep doing what he's doing with a better system in front of him, with better protection, use of the run game more, because we've still got a running back room of K9, who should be easily a top 5 to 10 running back in the league. We've then got Charbonnet, who, if used correctly, up the A and B gaps, should just be our battering ram. He should make at least 600-700 yards every single season just by hammering it down people's throats. And then he will break one off and it will go for 40-50 yards. You've then got the forgotten man, Kenny McIntosh, who I rate really highly. I thought he was fantastic coming out of college. He was unfortunate with his injury, but he is a receiving threat as well. All three of those running backs are receiving threats. You give Geno that, plus a new offensive scheme, which should utilize all of the assets we've got, and I think we should be absolutely fine. But it's a matter of if that does get used properly.
There's Kovac there as well, who we got from the Vikings.
Yeah.
I think he was a UDFA for the Vikings, and we picked him up in 2023, who had a brilliant preseason for us. The levels he showed in preseason last year would be more than enough to be running back 4 on my roster this year. So I feel like that room's pretty deep. Unless a running back really falls to day 3, I can't see us necessarily dipping there again. No. Someone would have to fall again, like Kenny McIntosh style, I think, to be considered. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, with that, obviously, we've spent this episode going through free agency, going through who we've let go, where they've gone, who we've signed, who we've traded for. And this is my favorite time to do a mock, because it gives us a really well-rounded view of what this team looks like and what we're looking for. So with that, as it is mock draft season, we're going to go through another mock. We are going to use Pro Football Network because it has been updated, checked by Mitch. So we'll just do a 7-round mock. We'll do it on fast, so we're not taking up loads of time. We'll try and explain why we're picking these players. And then let us know what you think in the comments, or if you want to let us know on X or in an Instagram comment or on our Facebook group, by all means, you can join that page. We'd be more than happy to have you. But let's go for it. What I love about these as well is that the first 10 never go as you think. So I've seen so many where Caleb Williams drops to 5. And part of me, if I'm a GM looking at drafting someone, I'm like, he is a mercurial talent, but the guy appears to be a little bit of a cretin. So do I pick him at 1? Well, it looks like the Bears are going to now that Fields has gone. So,
this trade we've got on screen is my favorite. Well, it's one of my two favorite trade partners. So actually three: Kansas City for their late first and late second, the Eagles for their 22nd and 53rd, and Green Bay for their 2 seconds are my three favorite trade scenarios. However, if we go for this one, Josh, and I'll let you decide whether we do or not, I would throw in maybe a fifth, because I don't think anyone's making that trade in a realistic world. I think it would have to be a day 2 pick, maybe a third, or maybe a 4th round pick thrown in order, or a future pick in order to move up.
We've already got one of our viewers, a member of Discord, saying that they would accept it. Who else have we got?
Me too.
So the Chiefs are trying to offer us 32, 64, 95, and their second next year for 16 and 102. Then you've got the Manders offering us 36, 40, and 152. So reject the Commanders, reject the Chiefs, and you want to counter the Philly one.
Yeah, I'd maybe throw in the 179 or the 118. I know they're just going to instantly accept, but I just think from a realistic point of view, that offer doesn't happen without us having a later pick thrown in.
That's fine. All right, we'll do that. So we'll offer our 16th and 179 for pick 22 and 53. I'd be happy to take that. Looking at who's on the board: Latham versus Mitchell, Thomas, Newton, Fatanu, Jackson Powers Johnson, Chop Robinson, Nate Wiggins, just to name a few. Now, Mitch and I had a conversation earlier about what he sees our draft strategy being based on what we've done. I'll let you tell everyone, Mitch, because I thought it was a really insightful way of looking at this based on how we've padded this roster out through free agency.
I'm trying to remember which conversation it was, because there's been so many, but I guess we're talking about first round grades dropping and us taking best player available in order to add to the roster.
It was the star player.
We'll see. Well, we talked about edge rusher potentially being the main difference maker to add to this roster as it currently is. Yeah, I basically made the point that we've patched quite a lot of the urgent needs, and John Schneider's been very vocal recently about how overpaid and overrated interior offensive line is, in his opinion. So I'd be very surprised if we used a 16th or a 22nd pick in this instance on interior offensive line, and also add into that that they surely have to expect to be picking 20th onwards next year and the following year. And those are positions where you usually do have defensive line and interior offensive line available to you. So picking at 16, if we were drafting there on this occasion, we're not, but you'd want to take a player that's usually going to be out of your reach, like a premium X Factor edge rusher, which I think would push what we're building now to the next level. So Latu versus or Turner potentially falling to us at 22 would be an unbelievable pickup, I think.
Versus sitting there at the moment. So the options are: we take this trade and risk going back to 22, where we could get someone like Chop Robinson.
Yeah, Fatanu could be there as well. Yeah, we'll see. I think we just hit that button and see how it falls.
Let's confirm that then. Trade accepted. Right.
Okay.
And then are we just going basically, should we just caveat this, that any trade offered by the Niners we're just going to say no to? So even though they're offering us 31 and 63, they can, that's a no. Cowboys trying to offer us 24 and 56 for 22 and 81.
I wouldn't personally. I think there's a couple on the board there that we might have first round grades on, and if we picked up a second round pick and get the chance to take one of our first round grades that fall to us, I think that's absolutely a run to the podium situation.
Well, there's two players there instantly that I think has got a first round grade on. But just for those that aren't watching, that are listening, we rejected the Niners because it's the Niners. And then we've had Jacksonville come in offering us 48, 96, and next year's second and third for our 22nd and next year's 7th. Unrealistic. I'm going to say no, because I've seen who's on the board. So here we are picking at 22, and at the top of that list is Johnny Newton.
Yeah, I think that's a first round grade. I think year on year we see John Schneider with 12 to 15 first round grades. And with our new strategy that we've used the last 2 years of taking best player available on day 1 and 2, regardless of positional need, here we get the opportunity to take someone that was probably a first round grade and a positional need, and also a scheme fit, because he can play 3 tech in a 3, and he can play defensive end in a 4. Extremely athletic, lives in the backfield, extremely disruptive. I can't look past that pick, but we're doing this together. So what's your take? You think?
Do you know what? That'll be my pick. But for anyone out there that's sort of watching or listening to this, someone like Cooper DeJean, I'm really intrigued by in this whole setup, because he is, in my eyes, the perfect Mike Mack secondary player, because you can line him up at safety, nickel. You can line him up on as an outside cornerback, but then he can come in, he can blitz. That would be the only. You got Byron Murphy as well as there, but I think for this one, picking at 22, if he's still there, you're picking Johnny Newton all day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there you go. Johnny Newton is a Seahawk.
Yeah, and we're about to be picking in the second round, and that excites me because I think there's a load of players that are a great scheme fit that are likely to be available. So.
And then straight away, we get an offer from the Ravens, 62 and 113 for pick 53. But before we do that, let's see who's on the board. Everyone's fan favourite, Michael Penix, but based on what we've just done with quarterback, I don't think that's going to happen. You've then got Zach Frazier, the centre from West Virginia, Cooper Beebe, the guard from Kansas State, Chris Braswell, the edge from Alabama. That's an intriguing one for me. Michael Hall as well, the defensive tackle from Ohio. And then Braylon Trice from Washington. And then we've got Jatavian Sanders and Ben Sinnott, tight ends. Now, for me, it's a toss-up between Beebe and Braswell here.
Okay.
Because we've already taken defensive tackle. As much as Michael Hall has been talked up, and you see the video of him absolutely decimating Powers Jackson, it's going to be Beebe or Braswell for me. What are your thoughts here, Mitch?
I like Braswell as a player. I feel like he's been a perfect complement to
Turner.
Dallas Turner, and incorporating him into our defensive line could have a similar effect on players like Mafe and Nwosu. So I feel like he's a great player in his own right, but I feel like an addition like that also gets another level out of previous investments in this roster. Yeah. So I like that. However, it's exactly the same effect putting BB into that offense, having him back up multiple lines on positions on that line, and also giving you a starting caliber leader on that offensive line. And I can't look past that. Good. The two players you picked out are the exact same two that I would have as well. So we're on the same page. But
Unagi.
I do think that's BB for me. And I'm now mates with his dad on Twitter as well. So how can I look past him?
There you go. So Mr. BB's dad, if you are watching, or you do catch the little clip of this that I'll make, this one's for you. And for us, because we desperately need a good guard. So Cooper BB, you are our second round pick. All right, that's where we see everyone go off the board here. Right, so at pick 81, we have two trades. We have one from the Browns. They want to offer us 85 and their 7th round pick next year. Just reject that.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Green Bay offering us 88 and next year's 6th. Now, I was going to say, before we do anything with that, let's see who we've got. So players that stand out to me, Michael Hall again, but we've just taken a DT. Cedric Gray. Cedric Van Pran has changed his name to Van Pran Granger.
Yeah, it always was. I think people were just shortening it because it was a lot of characters for different websites and stuff.
SVPG rather than SVP now. We've got Marshawn Neeland. Can we just address this one question that's come up on our YouTube comments? How far does Penix have to fall for us to consider him? To the 5th.
Depends if he's grown a new leg, to be honest.
Well, exactly.
Has his knee regenerated? I just don't think it's realistic at this point. I'm kind of ignoring him because I don't think he falls that far.
No, neither do I. I personally, we've been burnt too many times by people with pre-existing injuries that we brought on, and they've just persisted. I will keep saying it till the day I die. The best ability is availability, and it'd be fantastic taking him somewhere like 81. But then, what if he lasts half a season? He's going to be a backup. He's going to be a backup's backup for at least a year anyway. So it's pointless. Good question, though. For me, I'm looking here at someone like Neeland. Rosengarten's someone who intrigues me as well, but I just want to have a quick look at what linebackers are available. So we've got Gray, Trotter, Williams, who we've spoken about on the pod before, who's estimated to go at 101. Tyron Hopper, Jalen Ford going further down. And then we've got Trice Knight, who's someone that we had in for a top 30 visit. But he's all the way down at 142. And we pick after this one at 102 at 118. So that's something we can look at later. For me, Mitch, I am going to be looking at either Neeland.
Yep.
Or Cole Bishop. No, we can get a safety later. I'm going to go Neeland or Gray, I think. Just Gray for his pure sort of sideline to sideline. He does all the fundamentals well. And you've got Abrams Drain as well, who, could come into that cornerback room and do stuff. But I think there's other options further down the line. What are you thinking?
Switch the filter to defense? I really want to take a defensive player on this pick.
Yeah.
And I think that's echoed in what you're saying, because you're saying Neeland, Cedric Gray, and who was the other? Or was it just the two?
Neeland, Gray, or Abrams Drain.
Abrams Drain, okay. Abrams Drain's a fun one. That is a serious hitter in the backfield. Cedric Gray's a great fit, and we've just taken 2 linebackers on 1-year deals because of their ability to be versatile linebackers. Cedric Gray would be a brilliant will in this system. However, there's a guy on that board a little bit further down, James Williams. I don't know why he's fallen so far there, but this would be I think this is a perfect round 3 pick for us.
I love this pick anyway. If we're going to take him, then I'm more than happy with it.
I just like the fact that he's played all of college as a safety. He's got a real bit of nastiness in him with how he drops the hammer on people if they dare catch the ball near him. He's got that real sledgehammer, and combined with timing of the hits, like Cam Chancellor used to have, where you caught it and you almost were flinching already because you knew he was 2 strides away from you and he was going to hit you in a legal but brutal way. He's got that about him as a defensive back, but he's also converting to linebacker and shows fantastic tackling technique combined with coverage ability. That is a superb fit for multiple positions of need going forward on a roster. And I kind of prefer him to Cedric Gray because I think the ceiling on how good he can be in that position is higher than Gray.
Yeah.
Personally, and also he's a bit rangier, a bit longer. Gray, I think, is a bit smaller from memory. It's literally from memory, though. What do you think?
We've spoken about Williams before. I love his positional versatility. I love the fact you could put him anywhere in that backfield and it's going to keep any offense guessing. I've said for years that I just want to have a secondary at least where, regardless of when someone catches the ball, they've got to have their head on a swivel and they've got to think, when am I getting hit? Who's hitting me first? How much is it going to hurt? Because you could be the best wide receiver or tight end in the league, but if you keep catching the ball and you get hit with 200 pounds of man every single time, you're going to start dropping balls. You're going to start ad-libbing on your routes because you're not going to want to keep taking those hits. And I think that is a great pick. Are we nailing that in?
Yeah, let's nail that down.
Let's
I
run
also
that
will
by
mention
you.
the names Cooper Cup and receiving backs like McCaffrey in our league. You have to stop them getting yards after catch. So players like that headhunting in your DB room are kind of essential for the NFC West, I think.
Perfect. James Williams, you're a Seahawk.
Love that.
Right, and then we're coming at 102, and we've got a trade offer from the Colts. They're offering us 117 and 151. Now, before we kibosh that, who's available? A slew of running backs. Blake Corum, fantastic. Bucky Irving as a Duck. I thought it was fantastic for us, and I think he'll do well in a good sort of pass-heavy offense because as a receiving back, he's brilliant. DJ James, McKinley Jackson's there. Kalen Bullock. Kieran Amagaji. There you go. Got it right again.
Nailed it.
That's stuck in there now. Dwayne Carter is a defensive tackle that intrigues me. And you've got Booker, Smith, Jaden Hicks, possibility of bringing a hometown boy back. And then we end up going, Jonah Ellis has fallen quite far in this draft.
Can you flip it to offense and guard just to see if Zach Zinter is still in free fall?
I certainly can. He is 146. Is what they.
You might look at that. Some people might be watching this thinking, James Williams was a reach. They ranked him at 101 and they took him, in the third high up. I think that was a reasonable position to be picking him. And I also don't think Zach Zinter is a late third, fourth because of injury concerns with that broken leg and how, when something like that, a serious leg injury heals, there are often knock-on effects with calf injuries, with quad injuries, with hamstring injuries because of that leg restructuring itself. So there are concerns, but that was guard number one in this class prior to that injury. I don't think he falls further than this. And that is a serious player in the run game for the interior of our line. So if he's here in the fourth round, I feel inclined to go for it. There is a caveat, though. That trade offer we had split us into 2 picks, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be we can hedge our bets that he's going to be on the board at 117. How do you feel about that? Trying to split our pick and take Zinter. Do you think
that'd be my preference? Based on where Zinter's sitting, I think that'd be my preference because he's an option there, but then there are other players that we've gone through before.
Like Amagaji we've talked about as well. There's a lot of sort of extra prizes there potentially. I like it. I think that's a good offer.
We'll take it. So we'll take the 117, 151 in exchange for a 102. Here we go.
Right. We get 2 picks in a row here. That's nice. I always like when that happens.
It's a nice little touch, that. And then we've got, so for our 117 and then our 2025 7th rounder, the Broncos want to give us 121 and 203. Let's have a look. Is our boy still there? Zach Zinter is still sitting there. We've got 2 picks in a row, so it doesn't matter who we pick and when we pick him. Zach Zinter, should I just take him now?
I think everyone would tune out if we planned to do that and then didn't do it when it happened. So let's absolutely just lock that one in. Right, and that's fantastic. We've added BB and Zach Zinter to this room. Fant is now backing up the tackles. Mm-hmm. We've got a starting and backup center. Our O-line actually looks really good now. I think we've done that. I think we need to look at edge, interior D-line, possibly a dedicated safety, and then just value. That would be my priority at this point.
More than happy with that. That's kind of how I'd go with this as well. And then the 49ers, every single time we do one of these, they just come in with a trade pretty much every other pick we've got. One of our offers 124, 176 for 118. Do one. No.
On your bike.
Right, which now means if we're looking at edge and safety, who have we got? So safety-wise, Bullock's still there. Jaden Hicks still there for safeties. Who else have we got safety-wise? Malik Mustafa's still down there. Tyke Smith. Kenny Logan.
Oladapo's an absolute boy as well. I'm a big fan of Oladapo.
And Vaki is all the way down in the 200s. Fair enough.
Yep.
If we're looking at edges, my guy, Javon Solomon, still there, and Jalix Hunt.
Yeah. Xavier Thomas there from Clemson as well. That's an interesting one. Extremely athletic there.
Chukwuola Fetui is there as well. That's right. So I get stumped with a lot of the other names, but if you give me a Pacific Islander name as a rugby fan, I've got it on lock. Right. So if we're looking at our options, then we're going to look at edge, safety, and then value. Was that what we were saying?
D-line, then.
Mm-hmm.
So interior D-line. There's actually a D-lineman on there that fascinates me. In fact, there's two. Dwayne Carter and Mason Smith. Beginning of this year, coming into this year, Mason Smith was a top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. He was widely considered a top 5 pick. He was considered the premium D lineman. And I know we've already done this with Zinter, saying, oh, he was G1 and then he fell for certain reasons. Mason Smith hasn't lived up to the hype. But to have fallen this far, there's unbelievable upside if you can coach and keep him fit. If you can coach him and keep him fit and help him reach his potential, you've got a potential top 10 player at this point in the draft. And I do think he'll fall this far, but I don't know how much further than this he falls, because there is a serious player there.
We're picking
Dwayne
again.
Carter's, when are we next picking?
151, 192, 235. We've got Dwayne Carter is someone that I've been trying to scout as much as possible because he really intrigues me. But like you said about Mason Smith, I think it's one of those where if he's staring you there, you look at the production he's had, how highly rated he was, and if he sat there, I think you'd be kind of silly not to take him. Because
someone's got to take a punt on him.
Yeah, exactly. Even if he's battling through injury. I mean, for me, like I said, the best ability is availability. But when you get to this portion of the draft, if you're looking at players that were previously highly regarded and have dropped purely through injury, like Zach Zinter, broken legs heal. If it was an ACL, MCL, any of the ligaments, I would be even more worried. Broken legs, once the bone is healed and set, then it's just the strengthening around it. I'm fine with that. I'm happy with Mason Smith here. Yeah,
I think the upside there is enormous. If you can coach him up and get him over his injury issues, he doesn't have to start in our D line necessarily. He can be a rotational piece for the first few years. Ceiling there is enormous.
Right, here you go. Mason Smith it is. Okay, and then we go for this is an intriguing trade. Our 151, 235. Jacksonville are offering 153 and 212. So we drop down 2, but then we move up. So that 23 picks. Sorry, my mental maths. There you go. They call me calculator boy. I think we also need to start thinking about, do we take a tight end? I know you've got a tight end that you absolutely love. Who's all the way down there at 203 in AJ Barner.
We've actually got 2 of them on there as well. AJ Barner and Tip Raymond as well.
Yeah.
Both high on my list.
I'm quite a fan of Colt Holker as well. So I'd be inclined at this point to take that trade just for the opportunity of moving up. Because if we're moving down 2 picks and moving up, what would we say, 23 picks.
But yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, what we're giving away isn't very much, and what we gain potentially is quite big. So I don't mind that at all. I think that's a no-brainer.
And then they take a guard in Isaiah Adams as well. So what we're looking at here then, we've got our D tackle. What we need to look at then are safety and edge.
Oladapo's still there.
Yeah.
There's Jalix Hunt there. There's Kenny Logan there that I like. But I think if you're looking at best player available in a position of need, because day 3, John Schneider will be looking what holes do we have and who has rotational upside or rotational potential for this year and immediate impact. Oladapo's a big name there.
Yeah.
Josh Proctor's a nice name too, and I think Tyke Smith's another popular.
And we've got our boy all the way down there, Sione Vaki.
I think Oladapo's huge. Who's the top rated edge that's left? Because we haven't taken edge, and
Hunt.
Do you know what? Actually, that might be our last opportunity to take an edge player that can have meaningful snaps in 2024. And if we have an injury, we're going to need that immediately.
Are we? Is it going to be Hunt?
I like it purely because for me it's edge or safety now, and there are safeties further down that list that I also think could have impact in 2024.
Oladapo would be a fantastic pickup here, but like you said, edge, knowing what our injuries are like, I think having someone like Hunt to be able to come in, Mohamed Kamara as well. I think Rob Staton
he really showed out at the combine as well. We watched the combine together, and he was brilliant. He popped off the screen. I think he was brilliant at the combine as well. He's earned the right to not slide any further than he already has.
Bosh, let's take him. Right,
and
then
so I think safety. Yeah, safety's the thing here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So then we're looking at McMorris, Taylor, Harper, or it all comes back to Vaki for me.
There's one guy on there that I think could have Dominic Hampton. 6 seasons he played in at UW. Mm-hmm. He's got 6 years worth of tape. He's been incredibly consistent over that time. He's got a really good frame for being able to do it all. I really like Dominic Hampton, and it's great to be able to take a local prospect as well with a late round pick. I like that. Sione Vaki has that upside of maybe playing as a fullback, being able to be used as a running back or fullback. But I don't think he has much of an impact on defense in year one. Could heavily be utilized in special teams though.
But then, obviously, look at what's on the main board. So,
Garendo, McLaughlin, Mohamed Kamara, Tahib Still, Dylan Holker, the tight end from Colorado.
Barner's still there as well.
Oh, Satoa Lameo there as well. The guy, although we have heavily invested, and then AJ Barner there as well. What's our next pick? We've got 2 picks, right? This one and one more.
So we've got this one and then 212. So at 212, we're looking at
safety and tight end are the 2 options.
Yeah, I think they're the 2 options because linebackers with the 2 we've just signed and then the rest of the room we've got, I think we'll be okay. Then we've got free agency next year and we've got next year's draft. I think safety is a glaring position of need.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say tactically. For me, Vaki would be my favourite there. Mm-hmm. Dominic Hampton is a superb second choice. One of those 2 will be available with our last pick in the draft. One of those 2 will still be there. So how about taking someone like AJ Barner for tight end or Tip Raymond, one of the 2, and then whichever safety is remaining on the board.
Let's go Barner. We've mocked Barner a lot. You've watched a lot of tape on him. He's one of your draft favorites for this. So there you go, AJ Barner. And then let's see the safeties. And our boy is right there. There you go.
Dominic Hampton actually came off the board before him. Interestingly.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our decision made.
Yeah, Vaki, very good.
You are a Seahawk. And that is that. So what we'll do a quick recap. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in and stayed with us. This will be available on your podcasting apps as of tomorrow because I'd like to go to sleep at some point today. But let's go through what we've done. So we have taken Johnny Newton at pick 22 after trading down. Then we've taken Cooper Beebe at 53, was part of that trade. That was with the Eagles. At 81, we took James Williams, who is that just Swiss Army knife of linebacker, safety, hybrid. We then went for Zach Zinter, offensive guard at 117, and then Mason Smith, a defensive tackle from LSU at 118. Jalix Hunt. Jalix, there you go, at 153. AJ Barner at 192 to round out our tight end room. And then our final pick at 212, Sione Vaki. I like that. Everyone who's watching, everyone who listens, everyone who just watches this segment when we put it out, let us know how you feel. If there's anyone you would have picked out of the players we discussed in those positions, if you don't agree with our strategy, we're more than happy to have that chat with you. If you do really want to chat about it and anything like that, by all means, join our Discord. Mitch is our Discord king. He is the man who is in charge of it. And it's always a fantastic sort of forum for everyone to get into. I dip in and out because I'm currently remodeling my house, which I say with a sneer on my face because I hate DIY. But I mean, apart from that, I mean, Mitch, is there anything else that you want to sort of say to anyone who's watching, listening, anything?
Yeah, we're obviously, it feels quite a long time ago we talked about the sort of restructuring of our roster. But I would say for anyone that watched this and thought, oh, you guys are looking at it really positively. I wanted to see Bobby back. He was, Hall of Fame player. He should retire as a Seahawk. They are absolutely valid points. And we may not be on the same page as you in that respect, but I absolutely, if I'm remodeling this roster with my heart, I completely agree with you. If I'm trying to do it with my head, as Schneider and Mike Mack and an entirely new team of coaches, I do see the need to purge everything and rebuild with purpose, which I think has been our approach. So I think whether you agree with us or not, thank you very much for staying with us the whole way through. Let us know what you would do differently. Let us know if you think we're wrong. Happy to hear the positive feedback as well as the negative. So, just thank you for watching.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you can expect more episodes coming out. We had a little bit of a flurry of episodes and a little bit of a break because Mitch's busy with work and, as I said, I'm remodeling a house. But we'll keep this coming up. If you are watching or listening and you think, I want to be on that, I want to say my piece, get in touch. This is a community podcast for 12s throughout the world. We've had some fantastic people on so far. We've had people from Germany, the Latin American Seahawkers. If you are watching, thank you so much. We love you guys. If you just want to just hop on, you don't have to stay on for a whole pod. You can come on and have a little bit of a guest spot. We'd be more than happy to have you on. With that, I'm just going to look forward to doing some more mocks, wait for the draft. We'll be hosting a draft watch party on our Discord as well.
Yep.
Especially for day one. But anything you guys want to say, like us, follow us. Please, if you want to share this, that'd be amazing. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It all helps us. And obviously, we're reaching more and more people each week, which is shown by the people that are watching live on YouTube at the moment, on Facebook and X. Thank you so much. For two lads from the UK, to have more and more people watching and listening to us, it means a heck of a lot to us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
With that, I'm just going to say, until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.